So good to have you watching, everybody. In these difficult financial times, many individuals and families trying to navigate out of debt may think that bankruptcy is their only option. You should consider several things before you file. Welcome back to the show. A person I respect tremendously, bankruptcy attorney in Chattanooga, Eron Epstein. Eron, it's good to have you here, buddy, and thanks so much. As we move into this 2013 year, bankruptcy attorneys like yourself, fewer bankruptcies, more, or the same?
It's been, very stable the last couple of years. There's a steady increase over time. It's just the nature of the economy. Just people are still having trouble finding jobs. It's not as bad, as it used to be, especially locally. We've got some wonderful new employers here, but when people do become employed, it's often a catalyst.
Eron, is harassment from creditors still a huge problem for people? That must just be so tiring and just mentally exhausting for these people. It's very unfortunate.
I can't imagine what it's like to be afraid to answer the phone, but I'm sure a lot of people just look at the caller ID. If they don't recognize the number, they don't answer it, and that could be very stressful, I'm sure.
Are more people educating themselves and their families about the need to be on a budget, to control costs, to control spending, and don't live above your means?
Well, I think people are much more focused on a budget. Unfortunately, there are things that happen regardless of how disciplined you are that will just knock you in the creek.
These days, a lot of older people, are they filing bankruptcy because that 401k, the savings, God forbid, if there's an illness, that can just wipe out everything financially for a family?
I would say probably 20, maybe even 25% of the people who are in the bankruptcy system are fixed income recipients.
All right, one thing that you've taught me when it comes to bankruptcy and not to have to file, but if you do have to file, let's take a look at this graphic here. Lead a more frugal life. You've always said that. Work on rebuilding credit. Stay positive. Get a credit card and start paying that back gradually, and know the time schedule. Don't be late on payments. These are the things that you've always talked about, Eron, on this show.
They're still true. They'll probably always be true. And I think the most important thing is before you decide whether bankruptcy is an option, do your homework, research, make sure that you understand as much as you can. You can go to my website, moneyproblems.com. You can just go online and Google bankruptcy and get educated, because my best clients are the ones who understand what the upside is and the downside.
Let me ask you this question. Obviously very embarrassing for a lot of people, but is there a psychological guilt involved with filing bankruptcy, to feel like, if a person like yourself, an attorney, is going to work with creditors, I didn't pay it all off?
Initially that probably is the feeling. I mean, it wouldn't be normal if you didn't feel some reluctance and some guilt in doing it. But once you realize that you're doing it for your family, for your children, and for your peace of mind, that should dissipate that feeling.
Eron Epstein, can you take us to bankruptcy court? What is it like? Are there people in the courtroom? Does everybody know? I mean, is it just an open cattle call, so to speak, or is it very private?
Well, it's not an open cattle call, but there are a number of people there, and they're all concerned about themselves. And so it's not the kind of thing that
Do people listen to your business? I mean, are people like strangers? Are they in the courtroom as well?
Well, it's not a courtroom. There's a hearing room, but it's like a bit of a courtroom. There's not a judge. Normally there's a trustee and a meeting of creditors. So you're not by yourself then? No. Well, number one, you're with me, or you're with a lawyer.
Right.
And it's not, I've been on the other side of the table, so I can't say what it's like to be the debtor. It obviously is a bit of a stressful situation, but they're not abusive. Back in the day they might have been, but nowadays people are treated, I think, with a much more respect, even in the context of the bankruptcy hearing.
Why does it have to be put in the paper? I mean, I understand that's public records. Do you hear that from a lot of people? It's like, listen, I've already filed bankruptcy, I already feel bad enough, but why are these public records printed? Is that a problem that a lot of people face?
I've actually had people who did not file a bankruptcy because of the publicity from the newspaper, and I did my best for about 2 years. Once the newspaper was bought by the present owner, the local paper, I ran interference for a couple of years. I just felt like it was inappropriate to kind of kick somebody who's already down, but ultimately, I guess people read that. I guess that sells newspapers.
It's a very voyeuristic society is obviously what we're seeing here. Let me ask you this question. With filing of taxes, is there any grace period for people filing bankruptcy with the IRS? Do they care?
Well, they should care. I have a lot of clients who are able to discharge debts owed to the IRS. There's certain special guidelines. They're not typical debts, but the main rules are that they have to be at least 3 years old to be characterized as stale taxes, and you have to have filed your returns at least 2 years before you file your bankruptcy.
All right, a lot of people when they go to college and they get these great credit card offers, whether they get a Frisbee or whether they get a t-shirt, they will run up these credit cards, they will find themselves in financial trouble. Are the parents responsible for them, or after the age of 18, are they considered adults?
They are adults. There are federal guidelines or rules that have diminished the opportunities. I believe they're FTC regulations. They're not allowed to be that aggressive towards college students anymore, thankfully, but the parents are not liable unless they sign the application.
Another thing, if you are going through a divorce and your name along with your spouse are on that credit card, you file bankruptcy, you're going to be responsible as well.
Exactly. And the divorce decree is a state court order, and the supremacy clause says the federal court or the federal law prevails. So you are legally liable. No matter what your divorce decree says, you owe that debt if you sign for it.
Eron, be honest with me here. After you file bankruptcy, how long until your life can get back to normal?
Well, I'm always honest with you, Jed, but I honestly feel like the minute you file your bankruptcy, that moment, first of all, your credit score rises rather dramatically. My indications anecdotally are maybe 100, 125 points. And going forward, once you get your discharge, I would say that your life can be immediately better in every way. And one indication after doing this, 32 years, about a third of my clients who file bankruptcy quite often are back in my office within 2 or 3 years filing a Chapter 13 on all their new bills, which indicates to me that the lenders need you more than you realize.
Wow. In 7 to 10 years for it's all complete, you can start a new life credit-wise?
It's off of your report 10 years after you file, but I think you can start a new life as soon as you're done with the bankruptcy.
Eron Epstein, we love having you on. Great. Here's the information. Once again, Eron Epstein, he's been doing it for more than 30 years. Bankruptcy problems. Check his website out. It's great information. It's moneyproblems.com. His office located down there on Cherry Street, 752-3000. 752-3000. Eron, you always speak it right to the point, buddy. All the best to you.
Jed, you're the best.
Happy New Year, man. We're back
Likewise.
right after this
Thank
with
you.
more 3 Plus U.